The woman standing at his front door looked nothing like what Kendrick had expected, and for a moment, he wondered if the agency had sent the wrong person. Mara Morrison stood 5'6", with auburn hair pulled back in a poneless ponytail, wearing jeans and a cream sweater that had seen better days. Her green eyes were bright and assessing, taking in everything about him and the sprawling mansion behind him in one sweeping glance. She held a worn leather bag in one hand and what appeared to be a homemade apple pie in the other. "Mr. Kendrick." Her voice was warm, confident. "I'm Mara Morrison from Caring Hearts Agency. I brought pie because I figured your son might appreciate a peace offering from a stranger invading his space." Isaac blinked, caught off guard by her directness. In his world of corporate acquisitions and boardroom negotiations, people rarely threw him off balance. Yet here was this woman, holding a pie like it was the most natural thing in the world, and he found himself actually smiling. "That's thoughtful," he said, stepping back to let her in. "Though I should warn you, Oliver's not exactly the welcoming type these days. Most 6-year-olds aren't when their world's been turned upside down." Mara walked past him into the marble foyer, her sneakers squeaking slightly on the polished floor. She set her bag down and looked around, not with awe at the obvious wealth on display, but with what seemed like quiet assessment. "Where is he?" "Upstairs in his room. He's been there since the last nanny quit yesterday." Isaac ran a hand through his dark hair, exhaustion evident in the gesture. At 32, he'd built a commercial real estate empire worth over $300 million, but none of that success prepared him for single fatherhood. Mrs. Chen lasted 2 weeks. That's actually a record. Mara turned to face him fully, and he found himself under the scrutiny of those green eyes again. "Why do they keep quitting?" The question was blunt, almost accusatory, and Isaac felt his defenses rise. "Oliver's been difficult since his mother left. He acts out, refuses to listen, throws tantrums. And you, excuse me, what do you do when he acts out?" Mara's tone wasn't judgmental, just curious, but Isaac felt the weight of it nonetheless. "I work," he admitted. "I have a company to run, that's why I need a nanny." Mara nodded slowly, then picked up the pie. "Can I meet him?" Isaac led her through the house, past the formal living room that no one ever used, past the chef's kitchen where his cook prepared meals that Oliver rarely ate, up the curved staircase to the second floor. The hallway was wide enough to drive a car through, lined with expensive art that Isaac's decorator had chosen. He stopped at the third door on the left. "Oliver," he knocked gently. "Can I come in?" Silence. "There's someone here who wants to meet you. She brought pie." More silence, then a small voice. "What kind?" Before Isaac could answer, Mara crouched down so she was eye level with the doorknob. "Apple cinnamon. I made it this morning. But honestly, I'm hoping you'll tell me if it's any good because I'm still working on the recipe and I need an expert opinion." The door cracked open, and a pair of hazel eyes peered out. Oliver Kendrick had his father's dark hair and sharp features, though currently his face was set in a suspicious scowl. "I'm not an expert," Oliver said. "Sure you are. You're 6, right? 6-year-olds are the best food critics because they don't lie about what they like." Mara stayed crouched, not pushing forward, just waiting. "I'm Mara. What's your name?" "Oliver." "Nice to meet you, Oliver. Think we could test this pie together. I really do need your help." Oliver looked at his father, then back at Mara. Something in her open, honest expression must have reached him because he opened the door wider. "Okay." 20 minutes later, Isaac stood in his kitchen watching Mara and Oliver sit at the breakfast bar, each with a slice of pie, discussing the merits of cinnamon versus nutmeg with the seriousness of wine connoisseurs. Oliver was actually smiling, actually talking, actually being the kid Isaac remembered from before everything fell apart. "Your dad says you like dinosaurs," Mara said, taking another bite. "What's your favorite?" "Velociraptor." Oliver's eyes lit up. "They hunted in packs and were super smart." "Better than T-Rex, way better. T-Rex just used size, velociraptors used strategy." Mara grinned. "I like your thinking. Smart beats big any day." Isaac cleared his throat. "Mara, can I speak with you for a moment?" "Oliver, finish your pie." They stepped into the adjacent pantry, and Isaac kept his voice low. "The agency said you don't have traditional nanny experience." "I don't," Mara admitted. "I was a kindergarten teacher for 3 years, then spent the last year helping my sister raise her twins after her husband died. I'm new to private care, but I know kids, and I know grief. Oliver's mother didn't die, she left. Different circumstances, same kind of loss for him." Mara met his gaze steadily. "He lost the parent he counted on, and now he's testing everyone to see if they'll leave too. That's why your nannies keep quitting. He makes it impossible because he's trying to control the inevitable." The accuracy of her assessment hit Isaac square in the chest. "And you think you can handle that?" "I think I can try. But I need you to actually be present too." "He needs his father, not just hired help." Isaac stiffened. "I provide everything he needs. Except yourself." Mara's voice was gentle but firm. "Look, I get it. You're probably drowning in guilt and work seems easier than facing a sad kid, but Oliver needs you. So if you hire me, we do this together." "Deal." No one had spoken to Isaac like this in years. People in his world said yes, agreed, accommodated. They didn't challenge him or make demands. He should have shown her the door. Instead, he found himself saying, "Deal. When can you start?" "How about now?" Mara walked back into the kitchen where Oliver was dragging his fork through pie crumbs. "Hey Oliver, your dad's going to show me around. Want to be our tour guide?" Oliver looked surprised. "Really? Really? I need to know where everything is, and I bet you know this place better than anyone." For the first time in months, Isaac heard his son laugh. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of adjustment and revelation. Mara moved into the guest suite on the 3rd floor, a space she immediately made her own with books, photos, and what she called her plant family. She established routines with Oliver: breakfast together, walks before school, homework at the kitchen table instead of alone in his room. She was firm but fair, setting boundaries without anger, and Oliver responded, but it was her interactions with Isaac that caught him most off guard. "You're eating lunch at your desk again." Mara appeared in his home office doorway holding a sandwich and an apple. "That's not lunch. That's sad fuel." Isaac looked up from his computer, ready to dismiss her, but she was already setting the food down and settling into the leather chair across from his desk. "I'm in the middle of a deal," he protested. "You're always in the middle of a deal. Eat." She bit into her own apple, completely unbothered by his glare. "Oliver asked why you didn't have breakfast with us this morning." Guilt flickered. "I had an early call with Singapore." "I covered for you, said you had important work." "But Isaac, he notices. He's keeping track of every meal you miss, every time you promise to be there and aren't." "I'm doing the best I can." "Are you?" Mara leaned forward. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're hiding, and Oliver's learning that work is more important than people." Isaac's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? Look, I know his mother leaving devastated you both, but you're still here. You have a chance to show up for him, and you're squandering it for conference calls that could wait. My business will survive if you take an hour for breakfast with your son." Mara stood. "Think about it. He's making a drawing for you. He's been working on it all week. Maybe ask to see it tonight." She left before Isaac could formulate a response, and he found himself staring at the sandwich she'd brought, appetite gone but conscience fully awake. That evening, Isaac knocked on Oliver's door at 7 instead of 9. His son looked up from his desk, surprise evident. "Hey, buddy. Mara mentioned you've been working on a drawing." Oliver's entire face transformed. "You want to see it?" "I really do." Oliver pulled out a large piece of construction paper covered in crayon drawings of dinosaurs. But in the center was a house, and in front of that house were 3 stick figures. "That's you," Oliver pointed to the tallest figure. "That's me, and that's Mara." Isaac's chest tightened. "It's really good, Oliver. We're all together, like a family." Oliver looked up at him with such hope that Isaac had to clear his throat against the sudden emotion. "Yeah, buddy, we are." That night, after Oliver was asleep, Isaac found Mara in the kitchen making tea. She looked up as he entered, eyebrows raised in question. "Thank you," he said simply. "For the push," Mara smiled. "How was the drawing?" "Perfect. Terrifying. He drew you with us." "And that scares you because—" Isaac leaned against the counter. "Because you're an employee, because eventually you'll move on and he'll lose someone else he cares about." "Or," Mara said, pouring hot water over her tea bag, "I stick around and he learns that good people can stay, that not everyone leaves." "You plan on staying?" She met his eyes over her mug. "I'm not going anywhere, Isaac, not unless you fire me." Something in her steady gaze made Isaac's pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with business and everything to do with the woman standing in his kitchen at 10 p.m., making tea like she belonged there. He cleared his throat. "Good. That's good." The following weekend, Mara announced she was taking Oliver to the Natural History Museum. Isaac, who had planned to spend Saturday reviewing contracts, found himself volunteered to join them. "I don't do museums," he protested. "You do now." Mara tossed him a jacket. "Oliver wants you there." "So you're coming?" Oliver practically vibrated with excitement the entire drive, rattling off dinosaur facts while Mara listened attentively, and Isaac tried to remember the last time he'd done something like this. Before the divorce, certainly. Maybe before that, too. The museum was crowded with families, and Isaac felt distinctly out of place in his expensive sweater and watch worth more than most people's cars. But Oliver grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the fossil exhibits with pure joy, and suddenly none of that mattered. "Look, Dad." A velociraptor skeleton. Isaac really looked at the reconstructed bones and his son's awestruck face. "Smaller than I expected. They were only like 3 feet tall," Oliver explained seriously. "But they had that big claw, see, on their foot. They could jump and slash. Terrifying." "Cool," Oliver corrected. Mara stood slightly apart, snapping photos on her phone, and when Isaac glanced at her, she was smiling. Not at the dinosaurs, but at him and Oliver. His heart did that strange flutter again. They spent 3 hours at the museum. They ate overpriced pizza in the cafeteria. They bought a toy velociraptor from the gift shop that Oliver clutched like treasure. And on the drive home, Oliver fell asleep in the backseat, exhausted and happy. "Thank you," Isaac said quietly. Mara glanced at him from the passenger seat. "For what?" "For today, for pushing me, for giving me back my son." "You never lost him, Isaac. You just forgot how to see him." She paused. "He's a great kid. He is. And you're a big part of why he's doing so much better. He just needed stability, and his dad." They drove in comfortable silence for a while, and Isaac found himself hyper-aware of her presence. The way she hummed along softly to the radio. The way she checked on Oliver in the rearview mirror. The way she'd fit into their lives so seamlessly, it was becoming hard to remember what things were like before her. That realization should have worried him. Instead, it felt right. At home, Isaac carried Oliver upstairs while Mara got him into pajamas with practiced efficiency. They'd developed this routine, working together without discussion, and it struck Isaac how much like actual parents they seemed. "Stay," Oliver mumbled, half asleep. Both of you. We're right here, Mara assured him, smoothing his hair back. Promise? Promise. Isaac's throat felt tight. I promise too, buddy. Oliver's breathing evened out into sleep, and they stood there for a moment in the dim glow of the night light shaped like a stegosaurus. When they finally stepped into the hallway, Mara turned to him. You did good today. I had fun, Isaac admitted. I can't remember the last time I just enjoyed something without thinking about work. Maybe you should do it more often. They were standing close in the hallway, close enough that Isaac could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. Close enough that he could smell her shampoo, something simple and clean. Close enough that he suddenly wanted to close the distance entirely. He stepped back. I should let you get some rest. Something flickered across Mara's face, disappointment maybe, but she nodded. Good night, Isaac. Good night. He went to his bedroom but couldn't sleep, his mind replaying the day. The way Oliver had held his hand, the way Mara had looked at him, the way it felt like maybe, possibly, they were becoming something more than just broken parts held together by necessity. Monday morning brought reality crashing back. Isaac's business partner, Jeremy, called with news that a major deal was falling apart. A shopping complex in Denver that Isaac had been pursuing for 6 months was suddenly back in play with competing offers. He needed to fly out immediately. I have to go to Denver, he told Mara over breakfast, probably for a week. Oliver's face fell. But you promised we'd go to the aquarium Wednesday. Isaac's stomach sank. He had promised. Last week, caught up in the moment, he'd made plans without checking his calendar. I know, buddy, I'm sorry, but this is important work stuff. Work is always important. Oliver's voice was small, resigned, and it cut deeper than any anger could have. Isaac looked helplessly at Mara, who was watching with an unreadable expression. Can you explain? Can I talk to you privately? Mara's tone was careful, controlled, but Isaac recognized the steel underneath. In his office, she closed the door and crossed her arms. You promised him, Isaac. I know, but this deal, there will always be another deal. There won't always be chances to show your son he matters more than money. That's not fair. I'm providing for him. You're hiding behind providing for him. There's a difference. Mara's eyes flashed. He doesn't need another mansion or fancy toy. He needs his father. And you just showed him that work wins again. I don't have a choice. You absolutely have a choice. You're the CEO. You could send Jeremy. You could reschedule. You're choosing not to because it's easier to deal with business than emotions. The accusation stung because it was true. Isaac felt anger rise, defensive and hot. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, and you don't understand the damage you're doing. Mara's voice softened slightly. I'm not trying to attack you, Isaac. But I watched my sister's kids lose their dad, and they would give anything for one more day with him. Oliver has you here alive, able to show up. Please show up. They stared at each other, tension thick between them. Then Isaac's phone rang. Jeremy again. I have to take this. He answered, turning away from Mara. Jeremy, tell them I'll be there tomorrow. He heard the door close softly and knew Mara had left. When he finished the call 20 minutes later, he found Oliver in his room, door shut. Mara was in the kitchen, aggressively chopping vegetables for lunch. Mara, I don't want to talk right now. She didn't look up. I need to cool down before I say something I'll regret. Isaac had never seen her angry before. She was always calm, measured, understanding. This side of her was unsettling. I'm doing what I have to do. Now she did look up, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. No, you're doing what's easiest, and Oliver will learn that he's not worth fighting for. That's not true. Then prove it. She set down the knife. Stay home, handle the deal remotely, show your son that he comes first. I can't or won't. There's no difference. There's every difference. Mara wiped her hands on a towel. I'll take him to the aquarium Wednesday. At least one adult in his life can keep a promise. The words landed like a slap. Isaac's jaw tightened. You're out of line. Maybe. But someone needs to be. Mara walked past him toward the stairs. Have a safe trip, Mr. Kendrick. The return to his formal name felt like a door closing. Isaac left for Denver early the next morning. Oliver didn't come down to say goodbye, and Mara was conspicuously absent. The drive to the airport felt heavy with guilt, but Isaac pushed it down. He was doing what needed to be done. He was being responsible. Denver was exhausting. Endless negotiations, site visits, meetings with investors who wanted reassurances. Isaac worked 16-hour days, sustained by coffee and stubbornness. He video called Oliver every night, but the conversations were stilted and brief. His son answered in one-word responses while Mara hovered in the background, supportive of Oliver but noticeably cool toward Isaac. Wednesday night, Oliver showed him a stuffed dolphin through the screen. Mara got it for me at the aquarium. We saw the octopus show and everything. That sounds great, buddy. You would have liked it. Oliver's voice was matter-of-fact without accusation, which somehow made it worse. Mara said maybe you can come next time. Definitely next time. But even as he said it, Isaac wondered if Oliver believed him anymore. The deal closed Friday afternoon. Isaac flew home that evening, exhausted but successful. He'd secured the Denver property and negotiated terms that would net his company millions. It was a major win. It felt hollow. He arrived home after midnight to a dark, quiet house. Mara had left a plate of dinner in the refrigerator with reheating instructions. The small kindness after their fight made his chest ache. Saturday morning, Isaac woke determined to fix things. He found Oliver and Mara in the backyard, working on some kind of fort made from cardboard boxes. "Morning," he called out. Oliver looked up. "Hi, Dad." "Look, we're making a dinosaur cave." "I see that. Very cool." Isaac approached carefully. "Think you could use some help?" Oliver glanced at Mara, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay, we need someone to paint the entrance." They spent the morning painting and building. Mara was cordial but distant, and Isaac felt the gap between them like a physical thing. He missed her easy smiles, her casual touches on his arm when she was making a point, the way she used to look at him. When Oliver ran inside for juice, Isaac seized the moment. "Mara, I'm sorry. About leaving, about what I said. You were right." She set down her paintbrush. "Was I? Because you still left." "I did, and I regret it. Regret missing the aquarium, regret disappointing Oliver, regret fighting with you. It's not about me. Isn't it though, at least partly?" Isaac moved closer. "You were angry because you care. About Oliver, yes, but also about whether I'm the kind of man worth caring about." Mara's breath caught. "Isaac, I'm not good at this," he continued. "Work makes sense. Negotiations, deals, strategy, I understand that world. But this being a father, being present, whatever this is between us, I'm lost." "You're not lost. You're scared." Mara's expression softened. "Scared of failing Oliver like you think you already have. Scared of me leaving like his mother did. So you push me away first and hide in work where you feel competent." The assessment was so accurate that Isaac almost laughed. "When did you get so wise?" "I teach 6-year-olds. You learn to read people." She smiled slightly. "For what it's worth, I'm scared too." "Of what?" "Of how much I care about both of you. Of getting too attached and this just being a job. Of wanting things I have no right to want." Isaac's heart hammered. "What if I want those things too?" They stared at each other, the air between them charged with everything unspoken. Then Oliver called from the house and the moment broke. "We should talk about this later," Mara said quietly. "Tonight, after Oliver's asleep," she nodded, and Isaac felt hope bloom for the first time in days. The day passed in a pleasant blur. They finished the dinosaur cave. They made lunch together. They played board games until Oliver declared himself champion of everything. And through it all, Isaac felt Mara's awareness like heat, every glance and accidental touch loaded with anticipation for their evening conversation. After putting Oliver to bed together, like they'd done so many times now, they stood in the hallway with the weight of upcoming honesty between them. "My office," Isaac suggested. Mara shook her head. "Too formal. Living room." They settled on opposite ends of the large sectional, the distance both necessary and frustrating. Isaac had negotiated billion-dollar deals with less nerves than he felt now. "I don't know how to start," he admitted. "Start with the truth," Mara said. "When did this become more than just you hiring me?" Isaac thought back. "That first day, maybe, when you brought pie and talked to Oliver like he was a person worth listening to, or maybe the museum, watching you take photos of us. Or every single morning when I come downstairs, and you've made coffee exactly how I like it without me ever telling you." He paused. "When did it change for you?" "The day Oliver drew that picture of the three of us," Mara answered softly. "You looked so scared and hopeful at the same time. And I realized I wanted it to be real, not just me working here, but us being an actual family. Oliver would love that." "What about you, Isaac? What do you want?" He met her eyes. I want you in every way that matters, but I'm terrified of screwing this up." "What if we screw it up together?" Mara's smile was tentative. "I don't have any more answers than you do. I just know that the past few months have been the happiest I've been in years, and it's because of you and Oliver. Both of you." Isaac moved closer, closing the distance between them on the couch. "I care about you, Mara, more than I've cared about anyone in a very long time, but Oliver has to come first. If we do this and it doesn't work out, it will hurt him, I know." Mara reached for his hand. "But Isaac, he's already attached to me, and honestly, pushing me away doesn't protect him if I'm already part of his daily life. It just means we're all miserable and pretending we don't have feelings." "Very logical." "I'm a teacher. Logic is my job." Isaac laughed, some of the tension breaking. He lifted her hand, studying it like it held answers. Her fingers were slim, nails unpainted and practical. A teacher's hands, a nurturer's hands, hands that had cared for his son and somehow, without him noticing, started caring for him too. "I want to do this right," he said. "No rushing, no assumptions. We figure it out as we go, together." He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Their first kiss was soft, questioning, a tentative exploration of new territory. Mara tasted like the mint tea she always drank before bed, and when she sighed against his mouth, Isaac felt something in his chest unlock. They pulled apart, foreheads resting together, and Mara laughed softly. "So this is happening. Seems like it. Oliver's going to have opinions." "Oliver's going to be thrilled." Isaac kissed her again, longer this time, one hand cupping her face. "But maybe we keep this between us for a bit, figure out what we are before we tell him." "Good idea. I don't want to confuse him." Mara pulled back to look at him seriously. "But Isaac, if we do this, you have to actually do it. No hiding in work when things get complicated. No running." "No running," he agreed. "I'm all in." They talked until past midnight, sharing histories and hopes, learning each other beyond the roles they'd been playing. Isaac told her about Oliver's mother, Claire, who'd wanted the lifestyle of a CEO's wife, but not the reality of a CEO's hours. How she'd left when Oliver was 4, deciding motherhood didn't suit her after all. How the divorce had been vicious and public, and how Isaac had thrown himself into work to avoid dealing with the pain. Mara told him about her sister Alina, who died in a car accident 18 months ago, leaving behind twin 5-year-old girls that Mara had helped raise while working full-time. How exhausting and beautiful it had been. How she'd eventually stepped back when her brother-in-law remarried, needing space to figure out her own life. How the nanny agency had seemed like a way to use her skills while finding new purpose. "You saved us," Isaac said simply. "Oliver and me both. You were already saving yourselves. I just showed up at the right time." "No, you made the right time happen." They kissed goodnight at the base of the stairs, and Isaac watched her climb to the 3rd floor before heading to his own room. Sleep came easier than it had in months, his mind quiet and hopeful. The next few weeks were delicate and thrilling. In front of Oliver, they maintained their usual dynamic nanny and father, working together to care for a child they both loved. But in stolen moments, they were something else entirely. Quick kisses in the pantry when Oliver was watching cartoons, hands brushing as they cleaned up dinner. Long conversations after Oliver's bedtime, sitting close on the couch, learning each other's histories and hopes. Isaac found himself rushing home from work, eager not to miss dinner or bedtime. He started blocking out afternoons for school pickups and weekends for family activities. His assistant complained about his suddenly protective schedule, but Isaac didn't care. He was learning what his priorities actually were. "Dad, you're here again," Oliver said one Thursday, surprised to see Isaac waiting at school pickup with Mara. "I'm going to be here every Thursday from now on," Isaac promised. "That's our day." Oliver's smile was bright enough to power the city. They established new routines. Thursday was Isaac and Oliver time, just the two of them. Adventures that ranged from parks to batting cages to simply getting ice cream and talking. But the other days were 3 of them together, and Oliver blossomed under the combined attention. One evening, about 6 weeks after that first kiss, Oliver looked up from his homework. "Mara, are you going to stay forever?" Mara glanced at Isaac, who'd frozen in the middle of chopping vegetables. "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" "Because I love you," Oliver said simply. "And I don't want you to leave like Mom did." The kitchen went silent. Mara's eyes filled with tears and Isaac's chest felt too tight. "Oh, Oliver." Mara knelt beside his chair. "I love you too, so much, and I'm not going anywhere, okay, I promise. Really, really, really." Oliver hugged her fiercely, and over his head, Mara met Isaac's eyes. The emotion there mirrored his own overwhelming love mixed with fierce protectiveness. That night, after Oliver was asleep, they sat on the couch with glasses of wine, finally having the conversation they'd been dancing around. "He said he loves you," Isaac said. "I meant it when I said it back. I love him like he's mine." Mara's voice was fierce. "Is that okay? I know I'm not his mother, but you are." Isaac took her hand. "In every way that matters. You're the one who shows up, who cares, who puts him first. That's what makes a mother." "I never expected this," Mara whispered. "When I took this job, I thought I'd help a kid make some money, figure out my next step. I didn't think I'd fall completely in love with him, or you." Isaac's breath caught. "Say that again." "I love you, Isaac." "I'm in love with you." Mara turned to face him fully. "I know it's fast and complicated, and I'm technically your employee, but it's true. I love you. I love you too." The words came easily, naturally, like he'd been waiting to say them. "I think I have for a while now. Watching you with Oliver, the way you push me to be better, how you make this house feel like an actual home. You're everything I didn't know I needed." They kissed, deep and sure, no longer tentative but certain. When they pulled apart, Mara was smiling through tears. "So what now?" she asked. "Now we tell Oliver," Isaac said, "and we figure out the rest together. I'm still the nanny, though." "Actually, I've been thinking about that." Isaac pulled out his phone, bringing up a document. "I talked to my lawyer. If we're doing this, really doing this, then you can't be my employee anymore." It's weird and creates bad power dynamics. Isaac, I need this job. I can't just let me finish. He squeezed her hand. What if instead of being Oliver's nanny, you were his tutor? He's smart enough to start advanced work and you're qualified. Different role, different dynamic, and honestly more appropriate anyway since he's starting to outgrow needing constant care. Mara considered this. A tutor, that could work, but I pay rent then. Absolutely not, Isaac. Mara, I'm worth over $300 million. You're not paying rent in my house. She pulled her hand back. I'm not a charity case, and I'm not with you for your money. I know that, but this is about Oliver too. He needs you here every day consistently. Making you pay rent feels wrong. And me living here free feels like you're taking care of me like a dependent. Mara's voice was firm. I need to contribute equally to this relationship, whatever shape it takes. Isaac saw the pride and independence in her eyes and loved her more for it. Okay, what if you pay something nominal? Enough that you feel like you're contributing but not so much it's actually a burden. Define nominal. I don't know, $500 a month. This place is probably worth $5 million. 500 is insulting. Fine. 1,000. 2,000. And I handle all the cooking and grocery shopping for the family. They negotiated like they were hammering out a business deal, and Isaac found himself grinning at her stubborn determination. They settled on $1,500 a month plus Mara managing the household food, which was absurdly below market rate but seemed to satisfy her need for independence. You drive a hard bargain, Isaac teased. I learned from the best. Mara kissed him. When do we tell Oliver? This weekend. Saturday morning. We'll take him out for breakfast and explain. Saturday arrived with unseasonably warm weather and Oliver's endless energy. They went to his favorite pancake place, a small diner that Isaac would never have discovered on his own. Oliver ordered chocolate chip pancakes with whipped cream, already talking about the playground afterward. Hey buddy, Mara and I want to talk to you about something, Isaac started. Oliver looked between them, suddenly cautious. What? Good things, Mara assured him quickly. Really good things, but we wanted to see how you'd feel about them first. Okay, Isaac took a breath. You know how you and I are family, and how Mara lives with us and takes care of you. Yeah. Well, what would you think if Mara and I became more than just friends? If we became the kind of adults who love each other and want to be together, Oliver's brow furrowed. Like married, eventually maybe, if things work out. Isaac glanced at Mara, who nodded encouragingly. But first, just like dating, spending time together, seeing if we make a good team. You already make a good team, Oliver said matter-of-factly. You're nice to each other and you both tuck me in and you smile a lot now, Mara laughed. That's true. We do smile a lot. So you want to be my dad and my new mom? Oliver looked at Mara. I want to be someone who loves you and is in your life forever, Mara said carefully. Your mom is your mom. But I'd like to be like a mom to you if you want that. Someone who's always here, who takes care of you, who loves you no matter what. Oliver was quiet for a long moment, thinking with the seriousness of a judge. Then he said, Can I call you Mom? Mara's eyes immediately filled with tears. If you want to, yes, I would be honored. Okay, then I want you to be my mom. Oliver took a huge bite of pancake like he hadn't just rearranged the entire universe. Can we go to the playground now? Isaac and Mara looked at each other and burst out laughing, the tension breaking into pure joy. Yeah, buddy, Isaac managed. We can definitely go to the playground. Oliver ran ahead once they reached the park, burning off pancake energy on the slides and swings. Isaac and Mara sat on a bench, hands intertwined, watching him. He called you Mom, Isaac said, still slightly awed. I know. Mara wiped at her eyes. I never thought I'd have this. After Alina died and the girls went to their dad, I thought that part of my life was over. And now Now I have everything I didn't know I needed." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you. For what? For letting me in. For being brave enough to try this." Isaac kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for forcing me to be brave. I'd still be hiding in my office without you." They sat like that, watching Oliver play, and Isaac felt a peace he'd never experienced. Not when he'd closed his first $1 million deal. Not when he'd married Claire. Not at any point in his frantically successful career. This moment, this simple Saturday morning at a playground with the woman he loved and his son laughing in the sunshine, was everything. Over the following months, they settled into their new normal. Mara transitioned from nanny to tutor, working with Oliver on advanced reading and math in the mornings before school. The change in title felt right, acknowledging both Oliver's growing independence and their evolving relationship. Isaac cut back on travel, delegating more to his partners and learning to trust his team. When he did have to go on business trips, Mara and Oliver came with him when possible, turning obligations into family adventures. They spent a long weekend in San Francisco for a conference, exploring Fisherman's Wharf and riding cable cars. Oliver declared the sea lions his new favorite animal, temporarily dethroning velociraptors. Mara moved down from the third-floor guest suite to the primary floor, taking the bedroom next to Isaac's. They kept separate rooms for propriety's sake while Oliver adjusted, but many nights ended with them falling asleep together anyway, wrapped around each other in Isaac's king-size bed. They fought sometimes. Mara called Isaac out when he slipped into workaholic patterns. Isaac pushed back when Mara was too lenient with Oliver's screen time. But they fought fair, with respect and resolution, and Oliver learned that people who love each other could disagree without leaving. 8 months after that first kiss, Isaac knew he was ready for more. He wanted Mara permanently, officially, in every way possible. But proposing felt enormous, especially with Oliver to consider. "I want to ask Mara to marry me," he told his son one Thursday afternoon during their weekly one-on-one time. They were at the batting cages, Oliver insisting he needed to practice for Little League tryouts. Oliver missed the pitch entirely, too surprised to swing. "Really? Really? But I wanted to make sure you're okay with it first. Dad, I've been waiting forever." Oliver rolled his eyes with impressive preteen attitude, despite only being 7. "You guys are basically already married. You kiss and hold hands and share a room even though you think I don't notice." Isaac had the grace to look embarrassed. "We were trying to take things slow for your sake. I'm fine. I already call her mom. She should have a ring and everything." Oliver swung at the next pitch, connecting solidly. "Can I help pick it out?" "I was hoping you'd say that." They went ring shopping the following weekend, while Mara visited her brother-in-law and the twins. Oliver took the task seriously, examining every ring with the focus he usually reserved for dinosaur documentaries. "It should be pretty but not too crazy," he declared. "Mom doesn't like really flashy stuff." Good observation. Isaac hadn't even thought about Mara's style preferences, but Oliver was right. She wore minimal jewelry, practical and simple. They found it in the fourth store, a platinum band with a single round diamond, elegant and understated. "Not the biggest or flashiest, but perfect." "That one," Oliver said with certainty. "That's Mom's ring." Isaac agreed. Planning the proposal took another month. Isaac wanted it to be meaningful, not just grand. He considered elaborate schemes, hot air balloons, fancy restaurants, surprise trips to Paris. But none of it felt right for Mara, who valued genuine connection over spectacle. In the end, Oliver gave him the answer. "What about at home, where we're actually a family?" So on a random Tuesday evening in October, after dinner and homework and all the ordinary routines that made up their life, Isaac asked Oliver to get the special dinosaur flashlight from his room. It was their code. Mara was loading the dishwasher when Isaac came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Hey," she said, leaning back into him. "You okay?" "Better than okay." He turned her around, and she must have seen something in his face because her eyes widened. "Mara Morrison, you walked into my life holding a pie and determination, and you changed everything." "Isaac, let me finish." He took her hands. "You gave me back my son. You made me remember that life exists outside of work. You loved us both when we were broken and angry, and you stuck around even when we didn't deserve it." Tears were already streaming down Mara's face. "What are you doing?" Oliver appeared in the doorway, holding the ring box and practically vibrating with excitement. He handed it to Isaac solemnly. Isaac dropped to one knee. "I love you. Oliver loves you. We want you forever, officially, in every way. Mara Morrison, will you marry me?" "Yes." The word came out as a sob. "Yes, absolutely yes." Isaac slid the ring on her finger with shaking hands, and then Mara was pulling him up and kissing him while Oliver whooped and jumped around them. "I helped pick it," Oliver announced. "Do you like it?" Mara grabbed him into the hug, the three of them tangled together in the kitchen. "I love it. I love both of you so much." They stood like that for a long time, and Isaac felt the last broken piece inside him finally heal. His family, complete. They decided on a small spring wedding, just close friends and family. Isaac's business partners and their spouses. Mara's brother-in-law and the twins, who would be flower girls. Oliver as ring bearer, obviously. Nothing elaborate, just intimate and meaningful. But first came Thanksgiving, their first as an official engaged family. Mara's brother-in-law, Ryan, and the twins came to stay for the long weekend. The girls, now 7, treated Oliver like a combination celebrity and jungle gym. The house filled with laughter and chaos and more noise than Isaac had ever experienced. "This is what family sounds like," Mara said, watching Oliver teach the twins some complicated clapping game. "Overwhelming and perfect." Isaac pulled her close. "I never understood what I was missing." "Money can't buy this." "No," he agreed. "It really cannot." They hosted Thanksgiving dinner for 20 people, every room of the massive house finally used and filled with life. Isaac stood at the head of the table, Mara at his side, Oliver between them, and felt gratitude so intense it was almost painful. "I want to say something," he announced, waiting for conversations to quiet. "A year ago I was drowning. My son was hurting, I was buried in work, and this house was just an expensive, empty shell. Then Mara showed up with a pie and opinions, and everything changed." Laughter rippled through the room. "She reminded me what matters. She loved Oliver like her own from day one. She pushed me to be the father I should have been all along." Isaac looked down at Mara, whose eyes were suspiciously bright. "She made us a family, so today I'm grateful for so many things, but mostly I'm grateful for her. And for dinosaurs," Oliver added, making everyone laugh. "And for dinosaurs," Isaac agreed. Winter arrived with unusual snow, rare for their part of the state. Oliver had never seen real accumulation before, and he charged outside at dawn, determined to build a snowman before school. "Let him miss one day," Mara said, watching from the window. "This is better than any lesson I could teach." So they played hooky, all 3 of them, building an elaborate snow family complete with stick arms and coal eyes scavenged from the garage. They had a snowball fight that left everyone soaked and freezing. They made hot chocolate with excessive marshmallows and watched movies under blankets. "Best day ever," Oliver declared that evening. Isaac caught Mara's eye and mouthed, "Agreed." Planning the wedding was surprisingly simple. Mara didn't want a big production, just something honest and real. They chose the botanical gardens for the ceremony, a small greenhouse space surrounded by spring blooms. The guest list stayed under 50 people. Mara found a simple white dress at the third store she visited. Nothing designer or expensive, just elegant and very her. Oliver took his ring-bearer duties seriously, practicing walking slowly with a pillow for weeks beforehand. What if I drop the rings? He worried. Then we pick them up, Mara assured him. It's not about being perfect, it's about being together. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather, mid-70s, sunny, light breeze. Isaac stood at the altar with his hands shaking, watching the small procession. The twins came first, throwing petals with chaotic enthusiasm. Then Oliver, walking carefully with the rings, face serious with concentration. He made it without dropping anything, grinning with relief when he reached Isaac. Then Mara appeared and Isaac forgot how to breathe. She walked alone, having no father to give her away, carrying a simple bouquet of white roses. The dress hugged her curves before flowing to the floor, elegant and understated. But it was her face that captured him, radiant, tearful, smiling so wide it must have hurt. She reached him and took his hands. "Hi," she whispered, "hi yourself." Isaac was definitely crying and didn't care. "You look incredible." "You're not so bad yourself." The officiant cleared his throat. "Shall we begin?" The ceremony was short, personal vows they'd written themselves. Isaac talked about second chances and finding home in a person. Mara spoke about unexpected joy and choosing love every day. There wasn't a dry eye in the greenhouse. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Isaac cupped Mara's face and kissed her like they were the only two people in existence. The small crowd cheered. "Can I hug too?" Oliver asked loudly, making everyone laugh. They broke apart to include him, the three of them embracing while people clapped and cried and celebrated this family that had found each other against all odds. The reception was in the gardens, casual and perfect. Food trucks instead of a sit-down dinner. A playlist instead of a DJ. Lawn games for the kids. String lights as the sun set. Nothing fancy or trying to impress anyone, just joy. Isaac danced with his new wife, with his son, with his nieces by marriage. He talked with guests and accepted congratulations and felt happier than he'd ever imagined possible. "Thank you," he told Mara during a quiet moment, both of them watching Oliver play tag with the other kids. "For what?" "Everything. Saying yes to the job, staying, loving us. Saying yes to this." He gestured at the reception at their life. "Isaac Kendrick, I'd say yes to you every single time." Mara kissed him softly. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." They honeymooned for a week in Hawaii, just the three of them. Oliver learned to snorkel and declared fish his new second favorite animal after dinosaurs. They built sandcastles, ate too much pineapple, and spent evenings on the hotel balcony watching the sunset over the ocean. "I could get used to this," Mara said, tucked under Isaac's arm while Oliver played with toy boats in the pool visible from their suite. "We should make it a tradition." Annual Hawaii trip. "I love that, creating traditions together." Isaac kissed her temple. "What other traditions should we have?" "Sunday morning pancakes. Thursday afternoons stay sacred for you and Oliver. Monthly date nights, just us." Mara paused. "Maybe eventually if you wanted another kid." Isaac's heart stuttered. "You want more children? Only if you do. I'm happy with Oliver, but I'd also love to experience having a baby with you, raising a child together from the beginning." She looked up at him nervously. "Is that crazy?" "It's perfect." Isaac turned her to face him fully. "I'd love to have a baby with you, not right away, but yes, absolutely." Mara's smile was bright enough to rival the Hawaiian sun. They returned home to real-life school schedules, work obligations, the beautiful mundane routine of family. But everything felt different now, solid in a way it hadn't before. Mara was his wife. Oliver called them both Mom and Dad without hesitation. They were legally, officially, permanently a family. 6 months after the wedding, Mara started feeling tired, then nauseated, then suspicious. "I'm late," she told Isaac one morning after Oliver left for school. "Late for what, my period, Isaac? I'm a week late," understanding dawned. "Do you think I don't know? I bought tests, but I'm scared to take them. Want me to be there, please?" They took 3 tests, all positive. Mara stared at them lined up on the bathroom counter, tears streaming down her face. "We're having a baby," she whispered. Isaac wrapped his arms around her from behind, his own eyes wet. "We're having a baby." "Is it too fast? We've only been married 6 months. It's perfect timing." He turned her to face him. "We're ready for this, all 3 of us." They told Oliver that evening over his favorite dinner of spaghetti and meatballs. "So, buddy, how would you feel about being a big brother?" Isaac asked. Oliver looked up from his pasta. "Like having a baby in the house." "Exactly like that," Mara confirmed. "In about 7 months." Oliver's face went through several expressions: surprise, confusion, then pure excitement. "I get to be a big brother, for real, for real." "Yes." Oliver jumped up and hugged Mara carefully like she might break. "I'll teach them everything. About dinosaurs and baseball and how to build forts. This is the best news ever." Isaac met Mara's eyes over their son's head, and the love he saw there threatened to overwhelm him. The pregnancy was smooth, if exhausting. Mara taught Oliver through the first trimester while fighting morning sickness. Isaac rearranged his schedule to be home more, taking over cooking when the smell of most foods made Mara nauseous. Oliver became obsessively protective, insisting his mom rest constantly. They found out they were having a girl during the anatomy scan. Oliver immediately declared he needed to step up his game as a big brother. "Girls need extra protecting," he announced seriously. "Girls are tough," Mara corrected, "but having a big brother who loves her won't hurt." They converted one of the many spare bedrooms into a nursery, painting it a soft yellow. Oliver helped pick out furniture and stuffed animals. Isaac assembled a crib while Mara directed, both of them giddy with anticipation. "We need a name," Mara said one evening in her 8th month, both of them painting tiny flowers on the nursery wall while Oliver was at a friend's house. "I was thinking maybe Alina," Isaac suggested carefully. "After your sister, if that's not too painful." Mara's brush stilled. "Really? She'd be here if she could be. She'd want to meet this baby. It feels right to honor her." "Alina Kendrick." Mara tested the name. "Alina Rose Kendrick, I love it. Alina Rose it is." Alina arrived 2 weeks early on a sunny April morning. Mara's water broke during breakfast and controlled chaos ensued. They dropped Oliver at Ryan's house, drove to the hospital, and 12 hours later, Isaac held his daughter for the first time. She was tiny, red-faced, absolutely perfect. Dark hair like his, Mara's nose, lungs that announced her displeasure at the world with impressive volume. "Hi, Alina," he whispered. "Welcome to the family." Mara watched from the hospital bed, exhausted and radiant. "She's beautiful. She's perfect." Isaac brought the baby to her. "You're perfect. I love you so much." "I love you too." They brought Oliver to meet his sister that evening. He approached cautiously, eyes huge as he looked at the tiny human in Isaac's arms. "This is Alina," Isaac said. "Your little sister." "She's so small," Oliver breathed. "Can I hold her?" They got him settled in a chair with supervision, and Isaac carefully transferred the baby. Oliver stared down at her with wonder. "Hi, Alina. I'm Oliver. I'm your big brother. I'm going to teach you all kinds of stuff." He looked up at his parents. "She's the best thing ever." Isaac had to turn away, overwhelmed by emotion. Mara reached for his hand, squeezing tight. 2 days later, they brought Alina home. The house that had once felt empty now overflowed with life, baby cries, Oliver's excited chatter, Mara's lullabies, laughter and chaos and exhausted joy. Isaac took paternity leave, his first real time away from work in years. He spent his days changing diapers, walking a fussy baby at 3 a.m., helping Oliver adjust to not being the only child, supporting Mara through the exhaustion of new motherhood. It was the hardest and best time of his life. One night, about 3 weeks after Alina's birth, Isaac stood in the nursery at 2 in the morning, rocking his daughter while she fussed. Mara appeared in the doorway, rumpled and beautiful. "I've got her," Isaac said quietly. "Go back to bed. Couldn't sleep anyway." Mara came to lean against him, watching Alina start to settle. "Remember when this house was silent all the time?" Vaguely. "This is so much better." Isaac kissed her head. "So much better." Alina finally fell asleep, and they stood there swaying gently, neither wanting to break the moment. Through the baby monitor, they could hear Oliver's soft snoring from his room down the hall. Their family, complete and chaotic and absolutely perfect. "Did you ever imagine this?" Mara whispered. "When you hired me, not even close." Isaac tightened his arm around her. "I thought I was hiring help. I had no idea I was inviting in my entire future." "Best decision you ever made, without question." They finally put Alina in her crib and stumbled back to bed, collapsing into exhausted sleep tangled together. In the morning, they'd wake to Oliver climbing into bed with them, wanting to tell them about his dream. Then Alina would cry and need feeding. Then breakfast chaos and spilled juice and all the beautiful mess of family life. 2 years later, Isaac stood in the backyard watching Oliver, now 9, push 3-year-old Alina on the swing set. She shrieked with laughter, demanding higher while Oliver obliged with big brother patience. Mara sat next to Isaac on the patio, her hand in his, a completed picture of contentment. "Happy?" she asked. Isaac looked at his children, at his wife, at the life they'd built together from broken pieces and unexpected love. He thought about the man he'd been, wealthy but empty, successful but miserable, too scared to live outside the safety of work. Then he thought about who he was now, still successful but balanced, still wealthy but aware that money bought nothing that really mattered. A husband, a father, a man who knew that showing up was the only currency that counted. "I'm beyond happy," he told Mara, pulling her close. "I'm home." Oliver called for them to watch Alina's big jump off the swing. They both scrambled up, phones ready to record, cheering as their daughter flew through the air with fearless joy. Later, they'd have dinner together at the kitchen table, all 4 of them sharing stories from their day. They'd give the kids baths and read bedtime stories, tag-teaming like the practice team they'd become. They'd collapse on the couch with glasses of wine, reviewing calendars and making plans. It was ordinary and perfect. It was everything Isaac hadn't known he needed. It was the life that began the day a woman showed up at his door with a pie and the audacity to believe he could be better, and he had been. They both had been. Together, they'd built something beautiful from the ruins of their separate lonely lives. A family. A home. A love story that started with help wanted and ended with forever. As they tucked Alina into bed that night, she grabbed both their hands. "Love you, Mama. Love you, Daddy." "Love you too, Princess," Isaac said, his heart full to bursting. In his own room, Oliver was already reading, but he looked up as they came in for goodnight kisses. "Best family ever," he declared. "Best family ever," Mara agreed. Later, in their own bed, Isaac pulled Mara against him, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. 4 years ago, he'd been broken and lost. Now he was found. Now he was whole. "Thank you for the pie," he murmured into her hair. Mara laughed softly. "Thank you for answering the door." They fell asleep wrapped around each other. surrounded by the quiet sounds of their sleeping children, secure in the knowledge that tomorrow would bring more of this beautiful, chaotic, perfect life they'd built together. The mansion that had once been a showcase of empty wealth was now filled with crayon drawings on the refrigerator, toys scattered across expensive rugs, and laughter echoing through rooms that finally understood their purpose. This was what home looked like. This was what love built. And Isaac Kendrick, millionaire CEO who once thought success was measured in deals closed and money earned, now knew the truth. The real fortune was the woman sleeping in his arms and the 2 children down the hall. Everything else was just details. He'd been a millionaire who fell for his nanny, never expecting she'd love not just him but his son too, never imagining she'd complete their family in ways he couldn't have dreamed. But Mara had done exactly that, with patience and pie and a determination to see past his walls to the man underneath. She'd saved them. And in letting her, Isaac had finally learned how to save himself. Their love story wasn't about grand gestures or fairy tale perfection. It was about showing up every single day for each other and for the family they'd created. It was about second chances and choosing love even when it was scary. It was about building something real from honest foundations, and it was absolutely, perfectly, completely everything